Hello and welcome to this channel, and this is another video of voices from China. And today I'm here with Chen, aka Comet, who owns a bar right here called Muzika, and is also a father to Jin that is 3 years old. Let's take a walk.
Okay.
All right. So Jason, you are a dad that I think doesn't look like a dad. Do you get that?
I was thinking that, yeah, I do get that. They're like, what? You have a kid? You're so young. I'm like, I think I'm a normal age for my kid's age, but.
How old are you?
I'm 31 now.
31. The age is okay. Maybe the look is what I'm talking about.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So you're kind of a
Look,
cool dad.
I try to dress a little more conservative today.
Right. You're from New York.
Yeah.
From the Bronx. In New York, this is normal. You know, you have your own style, right?
Yeah.
In China, you don't see this too much.
Yeah. I think most folks dress pretty casually, like generically casually, nothing too outstanding. But there are a few people that they want to stand out, so it all depends. But it's more common to see that sort of like extra style in New York City than it is here in Dongguan, that's for sure.
Your son, Jin, is 3 years old. I think in a few more years, one day he's gonna wake up and be like, oh, my dad is cool. You know what I mean? Because you can see all the other dads around.
We used to joke about this before. It's like, you see, when Jin becomes a teenager, then he thinks he's all cool and stuff. I'm like, don't forget, I'm cooler than you.
All right, so you are married to a Chinese.
Yes.
Your wife is Chinese.
Yeah.
And what do you think is different between kids of those mixed marriages that we see a lot here, right? To maybe like my kids or just Chinese kids? Is there any specific thing you can tell me about the mixed marriage children?
I think for us it's been okay. Like, it's not too bad, but I've actually heard of some old colleagues and old friends of mine that do have a lot of complications with the mixed marriages just because of cultural differences in terms of how to bring up the kids and what's prioritized, what's important, what's least important. But as of now, for me it's okay because my wife is not as engaged in the upbringing of my son as she could be. Okay. So I mostly prioritize, you know, what direction to take with him.
So you're the
I'm the mom.
You're the mom.
Yeah.
And the dad. Okay,
yeah.
so you're with your son.
She's more like a dad than I am, tell you the truth.
So how do you raise him? What about the education at home? Like, is it Western? Is it there is Chinese influence, or how do you define that?
Man, that's a tough one. Considering he's only 3 years old, there's not too much that we've had done. But we make sure we read books for him every night. So I've been much busier lately in the evening, so that means my wife has actually taken the initiative to do that part, so that's great. But we make sure to read books with him every night, and he can practice reading every night, mostly English, because he's going to kindergarten, and the kindergarten is just Chinese. It's not like an international kindergarten or anything like that. I started phonics and ABCs and whatnot with him when he was 2.5, around that age. So he recognizes all his letters. He knows the numbers at least 1 through 10 and a little higher in 4 different languages.
4 different languages?
So that's pretty good.
Wait, in English?
Yeah.
Chinese?
Yeah, Mandarin, Chinese, Cantonese, and Spanish.
Ah, you also teach him Spanish? Or
yeah.
You speak Spanish to him sometimes?
I speak Spanish to him most of the time, actually. Especially one-on-one, I usually speak Spanish to him.
Oh,
yeah.
So you think he's going to have 4 languages?
For sure. It should be pretty easy. But the thing is, I know that can cause certain delays, especially with communication and speech and whatnot. So right now, we only really push him to speak English and Mandarin. But if he can listen and understand Cantonese and Spanish, that's totally fine. Until he gets older, like 5 or 6 years old, then it's okay to encourage him to speak more Spanish, speak more Cantonese.
So he gets Mandarin in kindergarten?
Yes.
And from mom?
Mom speaks to him in Mandarin and Cantonese a little bit.
So where does he get Cantonese?
Mostly grandma.
Grandma?
Yeah.
Wow, this is quite unique, and we see it in China, right? 4 languages. He's 3 years old. What do you think is going to be his first language? English.
All things considered, maybe Mandarin Chinese.
Mandarin Chinese, right? And you're okay with that?
Yeah, for sure. I don't think it's going to be an issue at all because English is something that he's going to be exposed to no matter what, at every single point in his life, unless something dramatic change happens in the world where English is not as useful.
Right.
But English is something he's going to get no matter what. So for him to get Mandarin Chinese out the way first, because it's considered a little more difficult, especially with reading and writing, etc., I think that's totally fine.
So that's interesting. You're raising your son in China, but you grew up in the US, you had a certain kind of childhood. Is there anything that you think he's missing here, which he would get in the US?
I'd say the only thing that he would be missing here, because it's not like the greatest childhood ever over there,
Okay.
is just diversity amongst like classmates in the neighborhood, things like this. So that's the only thing I would say he would be kind of missing out on, because there's a lot more diversity.
You don't think
in
there is
communities.
diversity here? I mean, like.
Oh, it exists, but very minimal.
Okay.
You know, very, very minimal.
All right, I see. Well, he goes to kindergarten. It's totally in Chinese, you said, the kindergarten.
Yeah.
And is that your first choice to send him to a Chinese kindergarten? What do you think about education here, for now and for the future?
It's definitely my first choice because I don't have any, at the moment, right? We don't have any intention of going somewhere else or moving to another country, etc. So it makes more sense to me that he goes to a school or kindergarten where he's going to learn Chinese better, speak Chinese, make friends with other Chinese kids, etc. Because this is where we live, right? And so I prioritize that being his vessel, right? If I prioritize him going to an international school, for example, or international kindergarten using English, it actually would make it more difficult in his everyday life to make friends and communicate with other people, because most of the kindergarten age kids don't speak English at all.
Right, but do you want to send him to an international education school later on?
Not really.
Why not?
Not really.
Why not?
Well, the reason is my logic is very different from other people, but the reason I do not want to send them to international schools, one, it is extremely expensive. I think it's overpriced, to tell you the truth, my opinion. The other reason is because I believe, I believe that it really comes down to the parents to be responsible for the child's education, and not in the sense of paying for education and sending them to school, but actually teaching the kids. So
Right.
maybe it's easier for me to say that as a teacher, since I've been teaching ESL or whatever.
So you have this
I have
background.
this experience, so I already know. But I honestly, I believe like a lot of parents are putting too much, how would I say, responsibility and trust, depending on how you look at it, into the schools to raise their kids for them. I don't have this in my mindset, you know.
So you think that the parents' role is way more important anyway?
Yes.
School is what, just for socializing?
Something like that.
Something
It's
like
not
that.
that simple, but at the end of the day, like the persons who are going to have the biggest effect on you growing up as a person is the ones who are raising you. So in this situation, your mom and dad typically. Those are the people who are going to really influence what's going to happen to you in the future, or what your mindset is going to be, what you're going to prioritize. So for me, I'm like, everything that I think is important today, like as an adult and as a parent, everything that I wish I knew growing up, that I knew is actually very strong and effective in my life, I didn't learn in school, actually. I learned it after I left school and threw myself into like the workforce, or threw myself into entrepreneurship and business development,
The
things like
street
this.
smart.
Yeah, at
Street
the end of the
smart,
day, yeah.
not book smart.
Yeah, the book smart, I've noticed like, how do I put this? It's
They're
like,
less successful later in life in
yeah,
some way.
in some way.
So it's more important for you
For
to
me.
think that your son will be
Yeah.
street smart rather than book smart. Not that you don't want him to be book smart, but yeah, I get it.
If he decides one day, hey dad, I want to be a scientist or a doctor, okay.
That's okay too.
Enjoy, that's
Right.
fine. I personally would not want him to do that. I'm the opposite of most parents. But if that's something he would like to do, it's totally okay. What I find though is that there's absolutely nothing wrong with book smarts, right? And going to school and trying to get a PhD, whatever. Great, do it. That makes you successful to, a degree.
Yeah. Okay. What do you think about? Shall we walk here? Shall we walk there? What do you think?
This
Let's
side's
walk
okay.
there. Okay.
All the bikes are getting.
Yeah,
crazy.
this is like the bike lane. It's I got hit by bikes here. Yeah.
Ouch, that sucks.
So, what do you think about Chinese parenting? You're friends with Chinese. You know, what do you think about that? I mean, I'm generalizing, of course, but.
Well, the thing I've noticed, at least not with like my friends directly, but just the observance and the parents of my students, for example, is I know that from what I've seen, most of the parenting is done by the grandparents. So you have this a weird separation between how the kid is growing up with the grandparents and how they grow up with the parents directly. So from what I've observed anyway, when I see that the parents are taking care of the kids and raising the kids and disciplining the kids, they actually, from what I can see, are doing a pretty good job. So they're actually pretty good.
And that's the right thing. And you think when they just do their job, work way too much, and let the grandparents raise the kids,
everything,
there is an issue there.
Yeah, and remember we talked about this before. It's like, how does your grandma treat you or your grandpa treat you versus your parents?
Right. Typically they will overspoil you. They will not say no.
Yeah.
So you don't get your boundaries. You don't. Right. So
and I know, like many people use the one-child policy almost as an excuse, and not Chinese.
You mean to say they're spoiled?
To say like that's why they're spoiled. It's like I don't. I actually, that may be a factor, but I don't think that's the deciding factor of what makes a kid grow up a certain way. I honestly believe it's because of grandparents, right?
Okay, your wife is Chinese. So your son's grandparents never gonna live with you guys?
No. No.
Because you see a lot of mixed couple and that's what happens.
Yeah, no, it's because, I mean, everyone in this family is very independent and we all have our own businesses.
Okay. So they're open-minded.
So they're very open-minded. That's good. But also they're too busy.
But it could help too.
Yeah.
Having that.
Honestly, I believe it would have been very, very helpful because it was super stressful, especially the first couple years.
Yeah.
But we're here now, so
you're okay.
All is well. We got through it, so it's okay.
Okay. What do you think is, how would you measure success as a parent?
Success, like if I was successful as a parent?
Yeah, how do you know you're successful as a parent?
For me, I would say my judgment to say whether or not I'm successful as a parent really comes through if I can talk to my son and make him understand that, hey, this is acceptable, this is not acceptable, why? And he understands it. And then he actually, follows through like, all right, well, dad says this is not a cool thing because whatever reason, let me not do that.
You see him do the things that you taught him. You can actually see it, then that's what shows you mean.
That to me is just like that he can understand right from wrong, that he's responsible, that he's respectful, that he understands not to like take other people's things or mess with other people's property, etc. Right. Being a respectful person, being polite is what I would determine to be successful.
All right, so one last question. Do you think your son will live the rest of his life in China, or would he choose to go back to the US? I mean, you can't know, I know that, but like, what's your feeling and what would you prefer?
Looking at the situation in the world, especially today, I would say that he will find most of his success in China. Yeah, he will find most of his success here. He will develop tremendously here. But in the long run, he might end up going somewhere else, or he just might travel from country to country. But I don't think, if he's anything like me or my parents, he will not settle in any one place. He'll just bounce around a lot. But I think he will have a tremendous success here, though, first.
Are you going to stay in China?
I don't know that.
You don't know? You don't plan that far?
No. Like I said, it's like we usually go around from place to place. So let's see. I'm here as long as it's beneficial. All
right, I see. Should we take a share bike back to where we started?
Well, I don't use share bikes. I can walk.
I also don't do share bike. All right, okay, that was all. Thanks for talking to me today, Jason. It was really interesting. And if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, give it a like, share it with your friends, and subscribe to this channel. Until I see you next time, have a good day.